happy to be joined by Shemane Nugent. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Pretty good. So take us through a little bit. Of course, you have a show yourself that you've done for how many years?
This show, well, it depends on which show you're talking about. Ted and I have had a hunting show for about 35 years, and it's now on Pursuit Channel, and we've won all kinds of awards. I got a couple up there, an outdoor hunting show. But this, I think what you're referring to is my Faith and Freedom show on Real America's News. And that has been about 4 years. I started at the beginning of the pandemic.
What has that been like for you?
You know what? I got banned on Twitter and then even went for a 6 second video where I'm lip syncing. This was 2021. I'm lip syncing to a song. I don't even know what song it is, but you might know. What you doing? Where you at? Anyway, I don't know. I can't sing. But I'm pretending to, the text said calling President Trump to ask when he's coming back. That got me banned for 3 years. I was off Twitter, even with Elon back. I just got reinstated sometime last year with Elon back. So I started doing this Faith and Freedom show at the beginning of the pandemic, and it's really been such a blessing. I have interviewed everybody from Don Trump Jr. to Charlie Kirk, Kirk Cameron, Candace Cameron Bure,
Cash
uh,
Patel?
Cash Patel many times, Byron Donalds, Marjorie Taylor Greene, actors and John Rich, doctors, pastors. I feel incredibly blessed to be able to have these conversations with people, and hopefully people are watching.
I love it. I love John Rich too. He's been on the show as well, so big fan of John Rich. So what would you say something that you learned through the process of being banned? What was that experience like for you? You mentioned how you were banned for 3 years. How did that feel to you?
You know, it was at the beginning of this shift that we've made in our consciousness in this country. And it's the point where people are really waking up. They started waking up with the pandemic. I don't think it was just the 6 second video that got me banned. It was the fact that at the beginning of the pandemic, I've been a fitness instructor since 1980, before you were born. And, and I've been in the health and fitness industry. I've seen things come and go. I've tried to stay healthy. I got sick and almost died from toxic mold exposure, healed myself and my family, wrote a book about it. And when the pandemic came, and they're saying, don't go outside, don't get vitamin D from the sun, don't have an apple a day, don't do this, don't do that. And I'm thinking, this doesn't make any sense to me. So I probably did talk about those types of things. And it really was, I got to be honest with you. Ted and I have been married 36 years, and I've seen what he's gone through. People have said, you and I had a conversation for quite a while before we started this. People have said a lot of bad things about him. And people are saying, have said a lot of bad things about me too. People have said the bad things about you. They say bad things about people who are on the mark. And what I've learned from Ted and what I've learned from doing this show, there's a Bible verse that I love, Esther 4:14. If you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will come from someplace else, but you and your father's house may perish. Perhaps you were born for such a time as this. And I look at what Ted, people could say anything they want about him. I promise you, it doesn't bother him at all.
Or
It kind of
yourself?
well, it did at the beginning of the pandemic. And you asked what I learned from it. I learned that haters are going to hate you. And not only that, bots who pretend they're haters are going to hate you. So I've learned a lot not to take things so personally, and that, you know what, I feel it's my obligation, my job as a Christian, as a woman, number one, to help people, and as a fitness instructor for a long time. And I really do love sharing my passion for healthy living with others and spreading the gospel. And you know what? People are going to call me out for that. That's okay. They're going to call me out for having blonde hair and blue eyes or whatever it is. And I just have to let it go. And I'm learning that a lot more than ever.
And the interesting thing is you mentioned health, which you've been in for a long time too. How do we feel about RFK Jr.?
Oh, I always said I thought a good ticket. I don't know why I'm suddenly talking quieter. I always thought that a good ticket would have been Trump Kennedy because he brought the country together. Now, I don't agree with all of his policies, and there is no perfect man. We cannot vote for the perfect man because there isn't one unless you write Jesus into the ballot. So, to answer your question, I love the fact that he's calling out the unhealth food industry and big pharma for poisoning us, poisoning our food, our water, our skies, putting things into our food that we're feeding our children to cause them every diabolical disease, including cancer, and nobody's taking accountability for it. So I'm excited that this means a big shift for our health and wellness. You know, we can't make America great again unless we make America healthy again.
Which is just fabulous. And obviously Nicole Shanahan too is doing a lot of good stuff. I met her in person at AmFest a few months ago. I'd love to interview her. But it's such an important thing. And you still have people who just literally hate the term make America healthy again. Like even if you disagree with RFK Jr., I think we can all agree like having an apple or a banana. Look, I eat pizza a lot. I still feel guilty and I'll eat a banana before I have that slice of pizza because I feel guilty. So I think we should all agree on the Make America Healthy Again thing. Now, we can
Yes.
have that debate about vaccines and that, but I think we can agree that like to make America less obese is a good thing, and that shouldn't be a scary thing to say.
No, and let me ask you a question.
Didn't work out.
If you talk about vaccines, I'm vaccinated. As a child, I was vaccinated. But if you ask a question about big pharma, about what's in the vaccine, why didn't they want to tell you till 75 years after the COVID-19 vaccine what was in it?
So they
Why
can't.
is it that, pardon me?
So they can't sue.
Why wouldn't they tell you, hey, eat this apple, it's going to be good for you? Here's the ingredients: apple made by God. They can't tell you because they don't want to show you what's in it. They don't want to tell you there are aborted fetal cells in it. They don't want to tell you there's chemicals and dyes and aluminum and things that will make you sick and have all other nefarious connections that they don't want to even go down that rabbit hole about. So I'm for transparency. If RFK, I understand he's had health issues, his family has had health issues. I've had health issues. I want to expose the people that are making our health issues more prevalent. It sickens me. It breaks my heart that little children are on ADD medication and they might not need it. They're on asthma and allergy and X, Y, and Z and so many different things. And maybe all we need to do is clean the air, clean our food source up, eat natural, whole grain, God food, not man food. If it's in a box on a shelf for months or even years, is that good fuel for your sacred temple? No, we need a whole shift. And to answer your question, I'm excited. RFK is starting that.
And obviously, Cash Patel we have, which when I air this later on, I believe he is going to be confirmed. You've probably heard a little bit more. But when this does air in a week, who knows what could happen. But regardless, if he's on or not, what are you looking most forward to with Trump's term?
Well, you mentioned Cash. He's been on my show a lot, and I would consider him a friend.
They're
I
probably going to use
text,
it against him in hearings, by the way.
pardon me? Pardon me?
They're gonna probably have a face of him on your show, just like they've done with every other show he's gone on.
Well, did you see during the hearing, Dick Durbin said you associate with all these, what do you call it? Not nefarious individuals, conspiracy theorists. And Dick Durbin mentioned like Ted Nugent. I put a little Instagram post out about that. And then Senator Kennedy said, I think we need more conspiracy theorists because they've been right every single time.
First off,
So,
Dick Durbin is somebody, it's a shame that he's in Illinois because if he was in a battleground state like Ohio or even Michigan, where you're from, he would have lost in his second term. He is absolutely horrible.
well, we've been asleep, Jacob. Unfortunately, we've been asleep. And I love people like you, your age, your generation, who are getting involved in this, and you're saying no, not on my watch. You guys, you adults have been ruining this country, and you know what? We've been asleep. So thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for stepping up and speaking out and really educating your generation. You got to make changes, and we can help you. But it's on the right track with Kash Patel and President Trump, obviously, Kristi Noem, and so many others. Tom Homan, he's been on my show too.
I've
I
had Tom on too.
Yeah, this is exciting. This could be the greatest 4 years of our lifetime.
For sure. And a few last questions. What would you say? Do you have a favorite song of Ted?
Well, I told you this off air. When Ted and I first met, I didn't know any of his songs if my life depended on it. I promise you. Like, I was not a rock and roll fan. I listened to, you're gonna have to look this one up, Jacob. I listened to Donna Summer when I was growing up. Like, I was a disco queen. So the favorite song, there's a couple. I I like seeing him perform. So it's different. We don't listen to music in our house. I don't listen to his albums or anything, but I love watching real musicians as opposed to Kendrick Lamar and whoever that was at the Super Bowl. I
Zia,
didn't see, what is it?
Zia, I didn't even turn on the Super Bowl at all. First time I
Yeah, they didn't have an instrument. There was no band. Is if that's what you call music nowadays, I don't like that. I like watching people perform,
I
playing
like
an
seeing Ted
instrument.
rip a guitar.
Yes, playing an
Or
instrument and
John Rich,
everything. And John Rich, yeah, what they
Willie
put into
Nelson,
this. Willie,
Ozzy Osbourne, all of them.
well, yeah, I'm not fans of Ozzy, or I mean, I couldn't. I promise, I couldn't tell you an Ozzy Osbourne song or a Willie Nelson song. If if I think about it, maybe a Willie Nelson song. Is it anyway? Different topic.
Highwayman, Highwayman.
Okay, if I heard it, I would. But it's the performance that matters. It's the musician, the musical proficiency that these incredible musicians go through to master their craft. And I think, rapping or talking fast in a microphone, I don't know. I don't know. I'm from a different generation.
It's not my cup of tea either. Although I do like Sir Mix-a-Lot. He did our show, and Vanilla Ice gave me a few passes once to his show. So shout out to those two. That's when rap music was really good, and still those songs hit hard. What's your advice for young people? I always like to kind of get to this part of the interview where I ask advice you'd have for young people. Obviously going to the gym and just going on runs and eating bananas are good, but what other advice would you have?
Oh, there's so much. I don't know how much time we have, but I think people, unfortunately, are young people. There are a lot of young people who have fun. And I think your generation, even now, is drinking less. I never drank when I was in my 20s, or especially in high school or college. I just was so involved in sports. I was a state champion swimmer 2 times. And it was, for me, I went to school because I had practice before and after school. So getting involved in activities and charity. We were blessed enough to be able to go to Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio, where they bring in wounded soldiers. And years ago, it was in 2004, actually, Ted and I and our son, Rocco, who was 14 at the time, went, and they brought in Corporal John Shranowski, who was burned on 80% of his body. And Ted put the gown and the mask and scrubbed up and went in to say some positive words to John, to help him heal. And I stood outside the hospital room with John's mom. Well, what do you say to the mom? What I didn't have any idea. And I just said, Nancy, is there anything that you need? Is there anything that I can do for you? And she said, yes, my son is a big outdoorsman, and there's no pavilion to protect him while he's healing, so he can go outdoors, and he's blocked from direct sunlight. And I didn't know where it came from. I never had any experience with charities, and I just said, I'm going to build a patio at Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio, and I did. So those times when we are helping others, when I'm teaching a fitness class, or I'm helping an elderly woman, even walking out the door or with her groceries or whatever, be of service. Each and every one of you have God-given talents and gifts. Use them. That would be my advice.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and I appreciate you coming on the Jacob Beer show today. Of course, you have the hunting show, and then you also have your show on Real American News. Is there any other things that I'm missing?
Real America's Voice.
Real American.
I have a new book. I have a new book out called Abundantly Well, and it's a 40-day wellness devotional. I also wrote a book called Killer House. It is how to recognize, remediate, and recover from toxic mold. Unfortunately, that's a passion project of mine. I want to help all of you and not get sick from toxic mold, an invisible killer. I'm working on a documentary and some films with my son Rocco. I just have a lot of irons in the fire. I keep busy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining the Jacob Beer show today.
Thanks for having me, Jacob.